I am frequently asked the question, is it okay for women to do yoga? It's a pretty broad question. We need to get into the details before we can really understand whether the answer should be a yes or a no. Historically, we know that yoga was always practiced by men alone. Women were kept away from the science of yoga. And the question that would arise in the Western mind is that not because women were dominated by men? Well, there is some truth to that. But there is also truth to the fact that when women practiced yoga in the earlier days, they would get very ill and some of them would even die. It wasn't until recently, in the last 50 to 60 years, that we have realized why women were not able to practice yoga. And that is because if they do inversions during menstruation, then they tend to hold back the menstrual flow, which makes them toxic and makes them very sick. This was specifically the reason why in the earlier days women were not allowed to practice yoga. The picture you have of a yogi is that of a man with a beard sitting and meditating. You don't get any earlier day pictures of women sitting and meditating. That is a more recent phenomenon. And women were introduced to yoga because science made it possible. Advancements in biology and the study of the human body made it possible for women to practice. All they now had to do was to avoid doing inversions during menstruation. But we are looking at a science that has evolved over 5,000 years with a prime focus on men. So if you really look at the yoga exercises, they were created for men to harness the libido. And men can harness the libido by focusing on the prostate. That's why the three bandhas, or the three locking systems of the body, start with the Mula Bandha and the Udhyana Bandha, wherein the prostate is accessed and drawn inward and upward. So yes, not doing inversions would help women to practice yoga and attain to some extent the same benefits, the same spiritual benefits that men have. But look at the standing postures that women do today. Look at so many other postures that women do today. Aren't they doing the same thing? Isn't your standing pose the same as the inversion, wherein you're drawing in and pulling upwards? What are you doing when you do that? You're doing something to your physiology that is very similar to an inversion. And it is because of this that women today are not able to evolve in the spiritual dimension as well as men with the practice of yoga asanas. And what do I have to verify that fact? Look at the women saints of today, especially from the Indian tradition. Whom do you have? You have Amachi, you have Karunamai, you have Shri Dayamata, who is the follower of Yogananda. You have Guru Mai, the follower of Muktananda. Look at them. None of them had done yoga postures to attain the state that they have attained today. And on the other hand, you have millions of women practicing yoga asanas, and we do not find much of spiritual growth there. We can argue and say, yes, well, they are experiencing good experiences with the yoga, but look really at the human physiology. In the case of women, Many of them will tell you that their menstrual flow stops, that they stop menstruating, that they have severe physiological problems, and in many cases the most advisable thing for a woman to do is to stop doing yoga totally for at least 5 days before and 5 days after the time when you have your menstruation. Something to really think about. Something to really think about. Because there are other forms of yoga that women used to practice in the earlier days, which were very conducive. The woman was honored and revered in early Hindu society as the Devi, as the goddess. The god does not have any more power than the goddess in Hindu philosophy. So women were not really looked down upon. They just used a different system to attain spiritual benefits. They would chant. There was a lot of bhakti involved. That's what a woman is made of, devotion. She can multitask. She knows how to nurture something that is not so prevalent among men. And my plea to the women today is, look at your yoga asanas. Look at the way you practice yoga. I know there are a lot of postures that are beneficial, but there may be a few rotten apples there, a few postures that are not meant for you. Look very deeply into that, and it may transform your practice. It may help you to turn into another Amachi, another Karunamai, another Devi. That's what I pray for, and that's what I really hope will happen as yoga progresses in the West. This is what I had to say. I really hope you've understood what I meant, what I said.